Hello, my name is Flo.
My name is Brandon.
This is Jane.
I'm Sandy. Welcome to String Along. This is episode number 7, and today we will be talking about loneliness. So,
Mhm.
to start off, when was a time that you guys felt the most lonely?
I think like everyone else, we are lonely technically because of COVID, especially for people who are currently living on their own, like Jane and Flo. I know you guys are probably feeling loneliness, and with the family overseas, being overseas, it's definitely hard for you guys. So there's many definitions, right, of loneliness.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a difference between like feeling lonely and being alone. Being alone is when you like enjoy the presence of like being by yourself, but when you're feeling lonely, like you feel like not happy about like being by yourself and you just want the comfort of someone else.
And I think that's crazy because thinking back, I don't think the time when I was actually lonely was when I was alone. It was when I was surrounded by people, but just not the people I thought were right for me. And so, like
Mm.
right now, these past couple of months, I've been living on my own, but I don't think I've been feeling lonely at all. If anything, I think I enjoy being alone. But those times when I was with people, but if it was like the wrong group of people, that's when I felt lonely. So, given the example that when I had my breakup, and if you watched our previous episodes, you should know that like I broke up like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and back then was when I actually felt lonely because I think I lost the person that I was so used to being with, and eventually, even though there was friends that were there for me, and they were there to support me and all that, I still felt lonely. I went out drinking and went out to hang out with them, but it just didn't feel right. Didn't feel like I was happy, and I felt lonely, I guess, at that time.
I've been feeling pretty lonely lately because my mom and my sister just went to Korea and my brother just got a girlfriend. Or I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but he just got a
Beep.
girlfriend, so he's never home. And I think if I was alone, it would have been okay. But I could see that my dog is feeling different without my sister because she's never had one day where she didn't have my sister. So my dog is super depressed. So it just makes me super depressed too.
Aw.
Aw. So why do we feel loneliness? Especially in like the pandemic, it's easy to feel isolated. And in today's society, there's like an increase of social disconnection. And as there's like this increase, we embrace a culture of individualism where we are more independent and focused on like trying not to rely on other people. That's why we tend to push ourselves into this dark corner of like loneliness.
We feel like we have to be independent in some ways and just try not to rely on others. And so I think a big part of it is where I can relate to that in a way where I don't like to be with other people in some ways because I feel like I need to rely on them, or I feel like sometimes I need to depend on them, which kind of makes it worse in a way, which is also the reason why I isolate myself sometimes, where I stay alone. And I think the moment I started enjoying the fact that alone time was actually good, and I kind of changed my perspective on alone time, I think that's the moment where I found myself feeling less lonely. Just because there's so much to do out here that even though you're alone, I feel like the moment you're alone is the moment you can accomplish more. Just because there's less distraction, I think. So that, like, I think the moment you can accept that being alone is okay, you feel less lonely. I think that's just
Mhm.
my take on that. What you said,
Yeah, no, I definitely can see that because I think for me, loneliness is more of inner thoughts. So in a way, if however you want to portray your emotions, if you're holding that emotion, I would consider that as lonely because if you're not used to expressing yourself in front of anybody, who can you express yourself to? Just yourself. And in a sense, no one will really understand you unless you're able to talk. But yeah, I feel like loneliness has so many different meanings and it's definitely different because everyone's different, right? Everyone has their own personality. So I would say that that's probably my definition of loneliness, when you can't really express, but only to yourself because it's just how you were raised, maybe. But I would say that would be my definition. Sandy, Jane.
For me too, I think when I wanted to talk to someone about my problems, and I have a lot of friends around me that would listen to me, but at one point there wasn't anyone that I wanted to tell my problems. So I think that's when I felt lonely. So even though I knew people around me and people loved me and I loved them as well, but I didn't want to tell them about the problems or the struggles I was going through. And that's when I felt super lonely, which was kind of unnecessary because I had people to talk to, but I just didn't want to. And I kept it to myself. And I felt so lonely that I had no one around me when I did.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with Jane. As someone who is like pretty independent, I don't like I have a hard time relying on people, and it's just the fact that like whenever I feel lonely, I don't want to share my burden with other people because like it'll make them sad. You know, obviously, I don't want my friends and family to be sad. So that's why I feel like I tend to just keep things to myself. But it ends up isolating myself. Um, so what are some signs for you guys that like show like that made you realize that you're lonely?
Do you guys ever get like heartaches because you feel lonely?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No one? Yeah? Okay. It's not just me. Okay.
I
No?
get heartaches. No, I don't get heartaches.
Oh,
I feel
really?
like
Like,
I physically feel it.
right? Me too. Like
Yeah.
something like it's like
No, I
empty and like
so
that
do I.
air's
Yeah.
like I don't know.
Oh, oh, maybe like if it's like the feeling like of a breakup where your heart just like feels like it's dropping. Is that what you're trying to talk about? Like how?
Kind of like you actually like feel something's like missing or something's empty.
Oh,
Your heart's
okay.
empty. Yeah, so I think that's when it kind of hits me hard when I actually physically like feel it in my heart.
And when
Go
you
ahead.
feel that, do you like cry? Do you naturally just cry eventually? Like, or do you think like you're just like, whoa, like I felt that, and then you're just like, oh, I'm gonna go on with my day though.
I think when I'm sad and I get heartaches, then I cry. But if it's a
Mm.
loneliness kind of heartache, then I just don't want to do anything, or it's more like don't know what to do, so I just sit
Mm.
there and I'm like waiting for someone to come to me. But no one's gonna come to you unless you reach out.
The same for me as well. Where when I feel like, I guess those loneliness though, those time of loneliness is like the shortest that I usually have. So for me, when that happens, that heartache happens, it only happens for a good like 30 minutes to an hour. But that moment during that period of 30 minutes to an hour, that's when I feel the most lost. And I think to avoid that loneliness or that heartache, the what I do is I try to realize or try to figure out what to do in order to not be lonely. So if you talk about how recent it has been when I've been lonely, it hasn't been that long ago. But it's more like it's only for a short period of time, and then I try to figure out what to do. But more so than when I'm lost, I also kind of I'm lost in terms of what I need to do and what I should be doing, but I'm also lost in terms of who I can reach out to, kind of thing.
Mm.
So it's more in terms of social like the social aspect and the professional aspect. What do I need to do in order to move on forward in life, and then who do I need to reach out to feel better in some ways. I think that's when I feel lonely.
I think it plays mentality plays a big role because your mind can be the greatest asset or it can be your biggest enemy because whatever you think and whatever you portray or believe in, it would happen. And it's more of a, yeah, I feel like I felt lonely recently due to the fact that I can just say like, oh, because I'm unemployed, I'm a recent graduate, and I just feel like, oh, with all these jobs turning me down, like I have nowhere to go. You may feel lonely in that sense, but also, if you want to just keep moving forward, just keep on applying, don't give up. That's how you get out of that loneliness. Because I guess everyone has that phase of I give up, or there's no hope, I need help, and there's no way to talk to people about these things because sometimes you would feel embarrassed, like me. Like I'm gonna be honest, whenever people say, "Oh, how's your job searching?" It's like a, it's like a, you get choked. You can't say anything, or they're like, what are you doing? What have you been doing? And then, I can't fucking say anything because I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm just job searching. So I guess that would be like one of the craziest like signs, like when you're lost in your head and you don't know what to do. So yeah.
And I think just adding on to Brandon, when someone asks you what have you been doing and stuff like that, and when you're like kind of lonely or when you're lost, obvious at times there's things where you just can't say like, oh, I didn't do shit, right? Or I haven't been doing anything, because obviously that looks bad on you. Um, but also acknowledging the fact that you're not doing anything is better for yourself in terms of like spirituality, or in a way where it's like mentally it's better for you in terms of avoiding the fact that you're going to be lonely. But to other people it looks bad, right? The fact that you're acknowledging that you're not doing anything to someone else, that other person can view it in different ways. It's more like, oh, this guy knows that he's not doing anything, but yet he's still not doing anything about it, right? And I think that's where I'm lost.
Mm.
That's where I'm personally lost, because um, sure, I don't want to tell people like, yeah, I haven't been doing anything, because it's like almost as if I'm proud that I'm not doing anything. I
You
also
feel
know
like
that
people are looking down on you,
exactly,
right?
right.
Yeah.
They can look down upon me, but on top of that, I know that if I say that, I'm acknowledging where I am. I know where I stand, and it makes me feel better by saying that, which pushes me less towards the loneliness zone or the sad zone or the depressing zone. Just because I know where I stand and I'm accepting where I am for who I am and whatever I've done. Right. I think that's the biggest clue, and I mean the biggest thing that I have to go through when I'm lonely or lost.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think one of the biggest step to realizing to like loneliness is realizing that you are lonely and that you have things that you need to fix.
Mm-hmm.
So adding to like what you guys like said earlier, do you feel like loneliness has like affected your identity? Like, do you guys feel like there's like a loss of a sense of belonging?
I would say not a loss of belonging, but more of a, how when you graduate, let's just say you graduate, right? Recently we graduated, and you're expecting to get a job, to achieve that, hard-earned money, buy a house eventually, and then like all this type of shit and start a family and all that. But life hits you like that. And so um in that way of perceiving things, I feel like that's definitely changed our choices, like in a sense. And you know learn loneliness can play a big part of it, but like I said, mentality. So I guess we'll lose a little bit of our identity, but I'm pretty sure when one aspect goes down, another one rises up.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
The thing about loneliness, I feel like people try to look around you to
Hmm.
fix your loneliness. Like when you feel lonely, you feel like you have no friends, you try to look around and see who you have around you, or look for those people that could fix your problems. And like even for like job searches, like you say, like when I get turned down, then I look at other ones too, like, but maybe it's something that we need to like fix within ourselves. So last
Yeah.
time when I felt super lonely, I went on a hike by myself, and I usually can't even eat by myself, but hiking by myself was a big step for me. And after I did that, it was actually one of my like best hike, and like I learned so much, and I was so motivated to just move on, and felt like like full. Like I was like, dang, I don't feel lonely anymore. So I think it's something that you need to just change
It-
yourself, because if I tell people I'm lonely, they're gonna be like, why? You always hang out with people. You always
it's
um
a different kind
have
of
so many
loneliness.
friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But how would they actually know how I feel? So yeah, other people might think like, oh, do you think you're lonely hanging out with all these people? Like I'm lonely. I don't even hang out with anyone. But like if I feel lonely, then I feel lonely. No one else could tell me
Mm-hmm.
otherwise.
I have a question. Does loneliness link to like having no motivation? Because I realize like some people who are unmotivated, they may say that they're lonely. And do you guys think that there's a correlation in some sense? Because that's that's happened a lot, especially in our among our friends. And I've definitely seen some people there like that way.
Yeah, I feel like it is linked to being unmotivated. I personally, like, when I feel lonely, I just want to shut out the world. I don't want to do anything. I just want to, I guess, relax and think about who I am. Uh, but after a while, you start to realize that you're getting tired of the same patterns, and you just start to pick yourself back up.
Feeling lonely is like the main factor of depression. It's like this world is not for you, or you just feel lonely in this world and it's just not going the way you want it to be.
Right.
And when you are depressed, then you are unmotivated because there is nothing that you want to achieve. So I think loneliness actually is a big factor.
I do think that motivation and what is it, loneliness have a correlation, just like everybody
Yeah.
has mentioned. But I don't think it's not a causation for sure. It's definitely not
That
like
makes sense.
it's definitely not causation. It's correlation, as in you'll definitely. I don't think you will ever feel lonely, when you have motivation. When you're feeling motivated, you will never feel lonely. I think, just because you have bigger dreams that you're looking forward to and you're working towards, you have a bigger picture you're aiming for. Um, but just because like, I think there's a pattern and there's a ranking where you'll never feel lonely with motivation. It's like motivation comes first before loneliness. And if you're feeling lonely, that means you're 100% not feeling motivated. But if you're
Right.
feeling
Right.
motivated, if you're not feeling motivated, that does not mean you'll be lonely.
Right. Right.
If you get what I'm saying.
No, I
It's
get
cr-
what you're saying.
it's crazy how you don't need anyone else. You just need yourself to
Right.
feel to
Yeah.
not feel the loneliness.
It's all
Which is
about the mind.
exactly, which just comes back to whatever Brendan was always saying. It's all in the mind. It's all mental.
That's why people have these phrases like, "Oh, your mind is like the best thing that you have right now." And it's not about how being smart, or it's more of how to sustain yourself regardless of what environment you place yourself in. As long as you know how to keep moving forward, I think that's like one of the biggest things.
Mm-hmm. That is true. So, like, talking about like other people, like how you when you hang out with other people, or you like feel social needs, like, do you guys feel that you've reached a point where seeing social media itself made you lonely?
I personally haven't. I think social media never really affects me that way. Because I already know that most of the things that the big news that show up, they're usually negative, and then if you really want, I think that's what kind of sucks about social media. They only portray all the negative stuff, and if you want to look at the positive stuff, you've got to search it out in yourself. So all the negative stuff is shown to you, but when you want to look or seek for positive stuff, you have to go and get it yourself, which
Mm-hmm.
kind of sucks. So I already know that every time I see something on social media, it's usually not negative, and whenever I see it, it's just I try to avoid it, just because I've known, like, from what I've read, a lot of famous or rich people, they always say to avoid social media in the morning, mainly
Mm-hmm.
because if you read the negative stuff, your day is just gonna start negative in the first place. So then I try to avoid social media just in general and throughout my whole day.
For me personally, when I'm in the phase of loneliness, um, like, I feel like whenever I see people like being happy on like Instagram or whatever, right? Like, they're portraying their happy life, and it just makes me feel like even more like isolated from people. And I guess, like, I just want to find like some type of validation when I go to social media. But it just, for me, it just becomes like more of a negative thing, and then I just end up like having to push away all my social media and just not go on there until I like recover from this loneliness.
I think social media is just I see it in a positive way where your friends and you and your friends can connect. Like if you have a group and then you can just send each other just pictures. It's not really a talking type of thing, but like Snapchat, Twitter, there's a lot of bad news and stuff. It's a I don't see it as a negative way because I think of it this way. If you've seen so many negative things on social media, the only way for you to turn that is to send positive shit back. So like to the people you care, or like even sending if you see something cool when you can't travel right now, but you see a picture of somewhere in Norway, let's just say, and I'll be like, damn, this is neat. But yeah, I mean, it's still bad, but
Going off of what Brendan
it's-
said, like when when people show off positive social media and stuff like that, or negative, and you gotta reinforce it with positive, commentary. Even if it's positive for me, the way I see it is, I use social media, yeah, as a way of communicating with others, like interaction. So when I see some people having fun, enjoying their time, uh, what I love to do is actually I love to connect with them in terms of the fact like asking them what they did or where they went. So
yeah,
like a lot. I'm sure you all see right now at this time where you probably have a lot of followers or people you follow that are like posting videos of amazing food they're eating. And for me, when I see that, it's more like it's not like, oh dang, she's like enjoying this food, man. I wish I could have it. It's more like, oh yo, where is that? So that like next time I'm gonna go. It's more like I see it as like, let me know more information about what you know so that eventually I can enjoy it too. I'm loving the fact that you're enjoying and you're sharing it because I would want one day to try it out too. And I'll never get to know that thing if that person never shared it in the first place.
I think it's because you desire food more than you desire people, so you don't feel lonely, but you just want the food.
No,
But
no,
he
people
doesn't
that
no,
feel
no. Okay, that
lonely,
was an example. Food was the example, but like, let me know, like,
he,
if
he
it's
doesn't feel lonely, he feels
yeah,
hungry.
exactly. That's I think it's coming from someone that doesn't feel lonely, then they'll focus on the food first. But for someone that longs to like hang out with someone or people, then they'll look at people first.
I
It's
think
okay, Flo.
with stuff like that, like I think it's pretty important to focus on like how you see things, like perception wise. So like when you start to like think more positively, then you start to have like a more positive experience of things.
Mhm.
So definitely mentality, like Brandon also said, like is very important. Um so how do you guys like handle loneliness?
uh I think that's a very difficult question for me because I do not know how to express myself. Even with like a significant other, I feel like expressing my feelings is definitely something that I'm not used to. Um, so I don't really know how to overcome it in a way or just express it. Like I don't I okay, I don't know if it's just me, but like it's just very weird to show that kind of emotion because
Mm.
I've not done that and it's very difficult. But if I do, I've done it before. It would be a burst of all emotions all in one. Like
Mm.
definitely I would feel all that anger, sadness, like surprise. It's just yeah, exactly, flow. Like yeah, and this was like a few years ago, but it was because of something that happened. But yeah, but it was just like a full rush. I just remembered like there's how like everyone has their limits. I guess it was to that point where you can't hold it in your head. So maybe that burst is like a good thing in a way.
Wait,
You're like
so
Mm.
Goku.
I
Your hair starts going up.
I got a question. So like, do you usually hold off like do you hold your emotions or you hold everything that doesn't go right in your like to yourself usually?
I think at the time it was more of build up emotions. It was
Uh,
like the day, then the next day, then the next day. But if it's like, oh, if I feel angry, I don't usually express it. I'm just like, oh, why would you do that? I don't get pissed off. I would just be like, oh, come on, logic. Come on, logic.
right.
I think as soon as you feel the loneliness inside of you, you should just get up and go out or just go on a walk even or
Yep. Yep.
clean your room, clean the house,
Oh
do
yeah.
some dishes, like just distract yourself or more like make yourself busy so you don't think about being lonely. It's like, I'm doing the dishes. It's like
Yeah.
I'm
Oh yeah.
happy.
No, yeah, that's true. Yeah, a distraction. I never thought about that.
Mm.
Yeah.
I,
Like working
uh,
out or
Mhm. Also, I feel like when you are lonely and you feel so empty, the little things will make you happy. Like clean room, you'll be like, "Wow, my room is clean. I'm so happy." So honestly, like, what? Oh, your room. But yeah, I think the smallest thing makes you happy when you are low.
Yeah, I think it's important to like feel some type of accomplishment, like even if it's like very small, like cleaning your room, definitely makes your day feel a little bit better. And also, like, a change of environment helps. Just because if you're stuck in one place for so long, you start to like associate it with those emotions that you had. So once you change your environment, like you go out for a little walk or something, you start to like also feel like a change. Um, so yeah, I mean, personally for me, like when I start to feel lonely, I write down like my feelings, just kind of like to vent it out instead of holding it in. That way, like it doesn't blow up later.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Like writing it down. And because I heard that I don't write anything down because I'm so lazy, but when I heard when you write stuff down and then you think you read it the next day, you're like, what the heck? Like it was not even a big deal.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What the heck?
But I have I know someone who whenever she's stressed out or whenever she feels like she can't talk to anyone, she actually wrote a book, and she eventually, I'm pretty sure one day she's gonna publish it out. But for now, she has so many chapters of her life, like throughout that, like a 10 years of writing her problems, and people are saying that, oh, that actually helps with de-stressing.
That's
So
insane.
yeah, no,
When you make
it's
all your sadness, loneliness, and just write it down just for the
no,
sake of venting out,
I admire this
that
person
is
though. She's like,
whoa.
it's it's a lot.
I've never had someone do that before because I actually do something similar. I've had like journals from like when I was like in elementary school all the way
Yeah.
until now, and I like just
Oh,
write it
whoa.
down.
No,
That's insane.
it's because when you look at it and you reflect, it actually helps you as a person, and you realize like, oh, I've actually grown without realizing it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah.
So if it does come out, ooh, top 10 sellers.
To conclude our podcast, what kind of advice would you guys give to the viewers?
When you feel lonely, remember that it's all in your mind. Mainly, just like as we mentioned, it's all mental. And we're not saying this lightheartedly. It is. Just because past experiences, no matter who you're surrounded with, if you're not feeling with if you don't personally feel like you're with the right people, or you're not satisfied with it, no matter how many people are surrounding you, you'll still feel lonely. So it's not about facts, it's not about the present or whatever, it's just how you think of the situation at the moment. So take a step back, breathe in, breathe out, do what you like, do something that's going to make you happy eventually, um, and hopefully that does a huge difference for you.
I think personally, if you're going through a phase of loneliness and emotions, I think expressing would definitely help. But if you can't and you don't know how to, definitely just see or do something that would actually make you happy. Like, for an example, when we started this podcast, it actually kept me motivated, to be honest with you guys, because String Along was pretty much a for fun situation or type of thing, but it's definitely grown really big in terms of how we're doing it, and I feel like I got motivated because of this. So that's an example for the viewer because of these three mofos. But yeah,
Hey, what does mofo stand for?
my only friends.
Online.
Oh, online.
My advice is the times that you don't feel lonely, just surround yourself with positive people. I realize so much with the string along team too that these people are so positive. Like last time, Flo messed up and we couldn't hear anything, and honestly, we could have just been like, Flo,
That
what
didn't
did you
happen.
do wrong? Or but we were like, hey, it's okay. I learned so much through Brandon that day because we could have said anything to Flo because we just wasted like 1 hour recording, but Brandon was like, hey, it's okay, like we could just do it again. It was a good practice. And everyone else I realized was like, oh yeah, like definitely we could do it again, don't worry about it. But if someone was like, oh, like what the heck, Flo, like why did you do that, we have to do it again, you wasted my time, then everyone else is gonna be like, yeah, Flo, like you dumb, or so
Don't be toxic.
Don't be
Yeah,
toxic.
so
Don't be
if you
toxic.
surround yourself with positive people with positive energy, I don't even feel like you'll feel lonely within those people unless you have problems within yourself. So, what
Sorry
about you,
for that.
Sandy?
Yeah, my advice to the viewer is that take some time for yourself, but don't forget to reach out to your friends, and try to have more positive thoughts. Like instead of like kind of just telling yourself like all these negative things, be like, oh, like I could do, like there are like things that I could work on, and it's not that bad, like of the issue.
Everything's mentality, and if you're definitely going through something, don't hesitate. Do what you want. Be happy. Smile more. Distract yourself. Watch Disney Plus, Netflix.
If you feel lonely, just get up. As soon as you feel lonely, get up and do something. Doesn't have to be something big. Just clean your room, go on a walk, go work out. Just something that you could do right there, right then.
Right now.
Perfect. And so just to close it off now, just want to remind you all that we do have a Discord channel that you can reach us out to. It's going to be linked down in the description below, so feel free to reach out to us. Just join it. Don't even have to show your face. Doesn't matter. Just introduce yourself to us and say a little hi to us.
And also, don't forget to follow our string along page. It is Yes String Along. And if you want to be updated, you can see of all our new posts and everything. We look amazing. So please give us a follow. And thank you.
I'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Okay.